Hey, this is Pamela Riemenschneider. I'm the retail editor for Blue Book Services, and this is the Produce Reporter Week in Review. Greg Johnson, our director of media development. We've been watching a trend. We've been talking about a trend, and this trend is still going full steam. And now Whole Foods has dubbed it its top trend for 2022.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, it's indoor ag is hitting the big time.
It's not just us anymore talking about it. Although everyone has been talking about it, a lot of discussion, a lot of back and forth, but to see Whole Foods pick it in the list of, they're usually first out of the gate with, what was it, tiger nut flour a couple of years ago, a lot of wacky things.
Oh, there's 10 and there's still a lot of wacky crap. Buzzless spirits, yuzu, reduced Tarianism, functional beverages. I mean, isn't that what coffee is?
Functional beverage. Coffee causes function. But yeah,
there's a lot of crap in there, but it started off with a big one that we've been talking about for a while.
Yeah, and it segues really nicely into some of the news. I mean, we talk about indoor farming almost every week. It's like an update of how much money is going into indoor farming. And this week we saw a couple of really interesting press releases that were not about financial investment in greenhouses. They were actually about greenhouses and some of these controlled environment places doing actual business.
Right. That's always been the step we've been waiting to talk about, because it's one thing to raise capital and have basically potential, but potential doesn't pay the bills. What pays the bills and really gets you into the scene and into real business is actual contracts with mainstream retailers and supplies and basically naming names. And this week we started seeing that. Springworks is up in the Northeast, and they're the exclusive romaine, exclusive head romaine supplier to Hannaford's Maine, New Hampshire, and Massachusetts stores. That's, now we're talking mainstream. And Local Bounty is another one there in Montana, and they just did a deal with Northwest Albertsons in Utah, Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, Colorado, Oregon to provide. They got herbs and leafy greens.
But the other one that they're going
into is big.
Spinach as well, and it's not just. I mean, they did mention arugula, I believe, but it's not just fancy greens. We're talking about spinach. We're talking about romaine. We're talking about volume greens, things that consumers are familiar with, comfortable with, and buy a lot of. So those are the things that is really exciting times. Revol Greens too, we got a press release from them this week. They are actually 2 years ahead of where they thought they would be with coast-to-coast distribution after they acquired a place outside of Atlanta, I think. But they hired a vice president of food service. So looking into food service as well. So this is not boutique salad talk. Although I do love some boutique salads. I mean, Leaf Farms in New Hampshire has some of the best greens I've ever had. But just to see that we're actually seeing movement and it's not just a pet project, really exciting times.
Yes, it's very big. And it reminds me of 20 years ago when we were still talking about, well, how big is greenhouse peppers and tomatoes going to be? Well, once you start seeing huge displays in Costco's and every other place that you shop, that's how you know it's big.
Mm-hmm.
And you will know that this greenhouse controlled ag product is big when it's big displays in stores, because retailers aren't messing around. They buy products that they know consumers are going to sell, and they have a good story, especially these regional ones, where they can sell a good message to consumers about how it is locally grown and it's staying in your community. And if consumers are concerned about food miles, I personally don't think that's as big a deal as some people think it is. But what is a big deal is local. Everyone loves local, and this addresses that. And that's a big story that consumers will like.
Well, and Springworks did a great job branding its romaine. It's with a capital M, Maine, as in it's grown in Maine, and pointing out that it's cutting 3,500 miles of transportation. And whether you care about the carbon footprint of the food miles or not, that's still 3,500 miles in a truck, and what, 2 to 3, maybe 4 days out of the supply chain that you are taking out of the equation that is providing a fresher product on the shelf. So, I mean, although the West Coast shippers have it dialed down to a science to get things coast to coast in great condition, that you can't argue with something that is, 1 day away from still growing. That it's pretty hard to argue with that. So exciting news in our greenhouse coverage that we've been covering over and over again. Another exciting thing in retail, I mean, we're just kind of retail oriented this week. Instacart had a really great article in the Wall Street Journal about some of their growth plans, and they see a lot of growth in delivery, although most of the retail industry sees more growth in grocery pickup before online. But even then, we still had 2 more announcements for retail organizations, a grocery outlet being one of them is piloting Instacart. It's kind of a head scratcher for me because grocery outlet is one of those things that has such a fluctuating, changeable assortment of stuff that how can you even keep Instacart up to date on that? But then they also bought a technology firm that is doing tech similar to what Amazon is doing with your Just Walk Out tech. And while they are going to offer it to their retail customers, I think it's really important for the growth of Instacart going forward.
Right, and it gets away from that big complaint that everyone has with the personal shoppers, and it's a huge consumer complaint. We've seen it in mainstream media. They've covered it, and this is a way to get around that. How big do you think that can get?
Well, I think what we're looking at, and a lot of the retail analysts and people are really excited about what Instacart is doing. Their micro fulfillment centers, are they going to become their own retailer? But this little piece of technology, I think, is what will help profitability on the personal shoppers, because those folks in a lot of retailers are still waiting in the checkout line. And that is adding a ton of time. It's adding inefficiency. And to be able to have that smart cart thing going on with the personal shoppers for Instacart is just going to zoom them around the store a whole lot faster, in a way that some of the retailers who have done their own type of skipping the checkout technology for their in-store fulfillment. This is going to make it a way more efficient, cost a lot less, and hopefully grow their business quicker with the retailers that they're working with, and then offering it to the retailers that they're working with if they're interested in this smart cart type stuff. This is a good layer onto their Instacart thing.
Do you think this kind of technology is a stepping stone to a bigger dark store type system, or do you think this is maybe a long-term play that retailers could avoid the dark store type system?
I think this could help you avoid having to have a dark store. I don't know. This is going to help that checkout congestion that we're trying to avoid when we're having a dark store. And that way people can get in and get out. And then we also avoiding just aisles and aisles full of third-party shoppers or online shoppers. They're almost making it more challenging when you're trying to shop on your own to try to navigate around the personal shopper type folks. So if they can get in and get out quicker, then it's going to make it a lot easier for everyone else to shop. It's hard to tell whether it's going to be a long play as far as, other retailers going into Just Walk Out, or if it's going to be, you want to go into the store for an experience, and if you don't want that experience, it's going to be fulfilled from a dark store. I think we're at a tipping point of which one is a better option for retailers right now. For smaller, obviously, you're not going to establish a dark store unless you're that big
investment.
It's a huge investment, and that one store that just sent us a press release, it's a one-off operation that got some VC to open in Chicago. And they're pure dark stuff. So this all for me underscores something that I think I had forgotten really, and I think a lot of people don't realize, is that Instacart has been around for less than 10 years. And they're already going up against the behemoth in grocery. They're going up against Amazon with this kind of technology. They are in thousands of retailers across the country. They have a lot going for them. They have a lot of data. They have a lot of smart people working there. I can remember back in the day trying to get Instacart on a panel, and we successfully got them. But that was back when Instacart was only in San Francisco and Austin. And nobody really took it seriously. They're like, who is this? Oh, another e-grocer. Oh, this isn't going to work. And the other two that were on the panel, one of them's gone. And I wonder if the other one's still in business. Oh, they're still in business in LA, yummy.com. So of the ones that were early pioneers, Instacart is just continuing to evolve and change and grow. And it's not just the order fulfillment that it started out as.
Yeah, a lot of companies like to call themselves solution providers, but a lot fewer of them actually fulfill that. And this is one that is. It's providing a solution.
Yeah, it's providing a solution, and it's growing fast, and it's really interesting to sit back and watch it. So that's it for this week's Produce Reporter Week in Review. If you are not getting the Produce Reporter newsletter, you need to go to producebluebook.com and sign up.